Howdy, howdy. Joel, pal, Tiki the Hut. Glad you guys are joining me. I actually have a tournament today in a couple hours. So I'm pretty excited. This is just me just touching up a few last units and just hanging out. So, yeah, I'll be taking about 1250 of my Japanese. I've been building and painting like a madman. Some of the more recent additions are these. I'm excited to... So I don't get to use these very often in Conflict 47 because they're not available. These are my lunge mines. Super excited to use these guys. I think this will be probably one of the bells of the ball. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. This is a Type 92 tankette. So, super funny story behind this. It's one of the few times like bureaucracy and rivalry in the Imperial Japanese military was actually useful. In the outbreak of the incursion into Manchuria, all tanks had to belong to the Japanese army. And so the cavalry were tired of horses, especially when the Chinese forces had machine guns and artillery and stuff like that. So what they figured out was like, hey, can we have tanks? And the army was like, no, you can have tanks. Tanks 100% belong to the army. It's the tank arm. So like, well, shit. Well, horses aren't working against these Chinese machine gun and artillery. So they looked over to the SNLF, the Special Naval Landing Force, the Imperial Japanese Navy, and like, what are you guys doing? Like, oh, we just use armored cars. It's like, oh, it's a pretty good idea. It's like, but we need off-road. So they went back to the army, like, well, what counts as a tank? They're like, well, it's got heavy armor, it's got treads, more importantly, it's got a giant, fuck off cannon. We're like, oh, okay. So if the rule is, if it's a tank, it has to have, a cannon, then okay, that's fine. So they came back with the the Type 92 tankette. Tankette meaning female. Female tanks were known not to have cannons, but to have machine guns. And so they showed up with a tankette, and the army's like, hey, what you got there? Cavalry's like, oh, smoothie. But no, they're like, oh yeah, this is our heavily armored car. They're like, oh, what? They're like, yeah, this is our heavy armored car. Like, that just looks like a tank with extra steps. Like, no, it's totally cool. Look, it only has machine guns. So what's neat is it actually has a mini machine gun in the turret, 360, and a heavy machine gun in the hull. But yeah, it is absolutely tiny. You can see it compared to some of the troops here on the ground. Like, it's a very, very small vehicle. And so the army was like, alright, you know what, we don't really care that much. So the Type 92 tankettes weren't used very much in World War II. There's only like barely, not even 200 made, and they mostly only served in China. But what makes them interesting in the tabletop game is you're looking at a vehicle that has the recce rule, it has 7+ armor all around, and it has a mini machine gun in the turret and a heavy machine gun in the hull. So it's actually kind of interesting. It's a very interesting vehicle. So luckily, all but about 5 of these guys are completely done. Now I'm just kind of going in and just kind of adding some of the details I missed. Like finishing up rifles, painting some skin. That's really it. When I mean done, I mean they all have 3. They're all tabletop ready. Meaning they all have 3 colors. They're all based. I'm just going in and adding detail for all of these guys. Getting patches and pouches that I missed, things like that. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a super laid-back paint and chat. More chat, probably less paint. Because I have been painting all week. My eyes are sore. So, I'm just looking really just to hang out. But if you have any questions about Bolt Action or Conflict 47, definitely drop them in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. So yeah, definitely took some time, even just a week, to hit bash up a couple more of these guys, get them painted. It's definitely been an endeavor, I'll tell you that. I'm excited. This is actually, ironically enough, my first tournament. I started Battlefield Gothic maybe back in 07, but I didn't get into like tabletop board gaming. It takes a disposable income. I didn't reach that level, I guess, until I was an NCO in the military. So I started around 2014 because I happened to be in the States too, so it was convenient. And so here we are 10 years later. This is my first ever tournament. I usually stay away from the competitive scene. I mean, I'm decent. I never really thought I was good enough to be competitive. I just enjoyed narrative. I enjoyed having fun, but never really been a big competitive guy. But I'm not looking at it that way. I'm looking at it more like it'll be a cool way to meet new people who are interested in the hobby. And kind of excited for that. That echoes on a lot of stuff. Like I said, I'm not a big PvP guy, even in a lot of like video games. The ones I do play, I'm mostly like a PvE guy, So there's a few exceptions, but. So yeah, these guys definitely no golden golden dragon, whatever it is, or golden demon, that's what it is. But just getting these guys, recolored, get them for the tabletop, get them 3 feet pretty. so I actually got, I wouldn't say bored, but I got a little, I'm not even burned out. I got a little, fatigued, I guess, from building the same poses over and over. Warlord Games, the Imperial Japanese Rifleman box, is awesome. You get about enough pieces to make about 30 troops, whatever weapon configuration you want, from knee mortars, light machine guns, katanas, man, they're all in the box. It's awesome. Nothing's really locked behind a paywall. You don't have to buy like a special box or buy a special kit. You get all sorts of badass stuff. But after a while, you know, a lot of the poses look the same, so I was trying to figure out different ways to make them look different. So let me finish doing the skin on this guy. And I'll show you one of the officers I built. Actually, I'm sorry, I didn't say officer. One of the non-commissioned officers I built. Yeah, I definitely plan on going back over these guys and neating them up. Like I said, actually painting the chin straps on the helmets, you know, finishing, you know, bits and pieces missing on the rifles, all that kind of stuff. I still have to hit some of their pouches on the back, but that'll be easier. Alright, so some of the unique models. So I try to make all my NCOs look different. Like here's the, for instance, here's the actual commissioned officer for the platoon. So if you look at him, you know, he actually has his katana raised. You can tell there's a little bit of red on the grip of the katana. When you look at his scabbard, it's black with silver on it, right? You're like, okay, cool. And you notice he has a tan hat with a little bit of a gold badge. So here's his senior NCO. You know, rocking an SMG as well. With, yes, those are bayonets in their SMGs. If you can tell, he actually has a green soft cap. And his katana is the Shiganto. It's like the issued factory-made, instead of coming from like his family and ancestors. You know, they're made in factories, so they're actually green in color, and they only have like kind of black scabbarding. Very, very simple. Very effective, but very simple, right? So then we start going with some of the other non-commissioned officers. So my rifleman squads, I want everyone with rifles, including the NCO. So again, you can tell they're NCOs because they have the green cap versus the dark green helmet. And say they look, here's this his Shiganto katana, his factory issued katana. No big deal. Then you start building more and more and more and more. It starts getting kind of repetitive. So here's one. You know, same thing. It's got a rifle across its back. There's this Shiganto katana. This guy actually has a speaking trumpet. You know, kind of cool for giving orders, like sounding a charge, stuff like that. Kind of interesting, right? Like, all right, still building, still building. All right, another crouch configuration, another pointing. You know, same thing, green helmet, and then here's this Shiganto katana. And yeah, that's how big the rifles were. I mean, they really were basically almost like spears or pikes that shot bullets, or shot, you know, 7mm. So then I'm like, all right, you know, let me have fun with at least one. So I built this guy. So he's definitely not crouched. He's just got a hunched down rifle over his shoulder. And yeah, he actually has dual Nambu pistols. Dual 8.8, or dual 8mm Nambu pistols. And he has his little Shiganto katana. So it's another NCO. You know, it's still WYSIWYG, it's still showing his rifle. But I wanted to make him look, you know, it's a little bit different, have a little bit of fun on the tabletop. But yeah, these are just what the standard riflemen look like, at least for my army. It follows very simple, very rudimentary Imperial Japanese army at the time. You know, 30s to 40s. Green helmet with a little bit of a yellow dot for the mum. Tan uniform. I went with the gray canteen. They were usually like browns, but gray just worked for me. Type 38 rifle. You know, leather gear, leather scabbard, bayonet, and can't think of the name of it now. Green putties on the legs and just brown boots. And like I said, with the base, super simple. Just went with a cheap hobby paint. I think it's the apple barrel. I went with like a matte one. I think it's called like Christmas tree or something like that. And give it two coats to make it nice and thick, and then just slap down some green tufting or green tufts of grass, and it actually works pretty well. I went with a simple base. That way, it works in most biomes. You know, I don't have to worry about like, oh, it's not going to match, you know, a savanna or maybe the desert or maybe a jungle or maybe France or whatever the tables are set up. This base should work for most of it. And when you look at the vehicles compared to the troops, first off, yeah, I think it is that small. The camo scheme kind of works. You know, it's the same tan, it's the same green. Nothing too crazy. And again, with it being mostly tan vehicle with those green stripes, it can work in the jungle, it can work on the beach. Pretty overall decent scheme as far as usefulness. Yeah, simple enough paint job. We're not even bothering with like the glasses and like I said, the helmet strap. We're just painting it all flesh tone for right now. Kind of dry brushing it on there real loose. And I'll go back up and neaten up the helmet. And later, when I have time, I'll neaten up the opposite. Or as I said that. When I have some time, I'll go back in and neaten up these troops. As I said, the benefit is I can use them for bolt action or conflict 47, so I'm pretty happy about that. No idea what the new 3rd edition rules bolt action will bring for the Japanese. Surprisingly, from all the channels I've kind of lurked on, no one's talked about the Japanese in 3rd edition. Everyone's talked about snipers, everyone's talked about mortars, people have talked about morale, people have talked about Gurkhas, people have of course talked about the Taka Steward. Nobody talking about the Japanese though. So we shall see. What I am hearing is that free units may be the way to the dodo. So Soviets won't get that free infantry unit, and the British won't get that free artillery observer. But those sound like pretty heavy nerfs for those two nations. So it makes me wonder what other nerfs are coming down the line. So kind of makes me worry about the Japanese. Between our Death Before Dishonor and our Banzai charges, I mean, it's really what makes our faction unique. So I'm kind of worried about that. I always thought those rule combinations did a good job of representing them on the tabletop and making them a viable faction. Because what a lot of people forget is, like I said, they produced all their war material in their designs, and they started war, you know, in like 37. So when it comes time for like early war, mid war, late war, that's why I always recommend Japanese for first time players, because there's no early, middle, late. I mean, your roster is your roster the whole war. And it could be a simple unit. I mean, you could just have simple riflemen with some modicum support and you'll be good. But with all the stuff going around with there being a lot more, there being special platoons you could possibly take, you know, it really makes me wonder what they're going to do with the Japanese, because they're going to be a hard faction to balance, because technology-wise, a lot of it wasn't there. Any really good vehicles, particularly middle or late war, were all stationed back on the home islands, or were stationed on the actual island of Japan itself, so they didn't really see combat. So it'll be interesting, to say the least. Hey, what's going on, Silver? I recognize you from I always forget his name. Steel Bolts channel. I want to say Bolts of Steel, Bolts of Iron, perhaps. Every time his name escapes me, I'm not sure why. Yeah, I'm just finishing up those last couple riflemen I was talking about in his live stream. Shells of iron. That's what it is. I kept saying bolts. I don't know why. I think it's because I get 40k. It's shells of iron. Absolutely amazing channel. That guy is a billion times better job painter than myself. I am literally just dry brushing this thing. Yeah. Oh, thanks, Silver. I appreciate it. I know you're a professional painter yourself, so you're probably just like, oh my god, look at the hideousness of it. But I'm just mass producing these bad boys. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, this is just some of my this is just one of my rifle squads. You can actually see the two light mortar guys next to them. They're going to be supported by a little tankette. They're going to be supported by a counts as a medium tank, but realistically it's a light tank. And officer will be riding in a truck. Some of the recent models I just finished building for this tournament are my my lunch mine guys. If you've never seen them, they're pretty neat. They basically have a shaped charge on a stick, and that's how I have to fight tanks. My tanks can't fight anyone else's tanks. They're too light, too thin. So my only anti-tank is those lunch mine guys. Everything else is just kind of basically anti-infantry. So yeah, I finally finished building a few of these models. You know, taking a little bit of time. I had fun kind of doing custom builds with the bits, you know, stuff you don't usually see. Having kind of fun with it. And yeah, just finished up the last couple of guys. Glad you could join the stream, man. Solar, if you don't mind, how's my sound quality? I'm always running like suppression software on my mic to kind of dull out some of the background noise. I'm always worried that my audio is coming in low or that my music's too loud or anything like that. Any kind of feedback you could toss me, I'd appreciate it kindly. Ooh, 3 King Tigers. Very nice. Yeah, I think even my lunch mine guys would struggle against your King Tigers. That's some tough armor to crack. And there's Tiger Shock, or Tiger Fear too. But they're anti-tank hunters, and they do have the bonsai rule, so you should be able to kind of just charge anyways. Yeah, the event I'm going to is a 1250 point, so that's pretty high for bolt action, some of the highest I've seen. So I'm fully expecting people to kind of pull out all the stops and bring out all, and it's gonna be one of the last big events for 2nd edition. So I'm fully expecting people to bring out the big guns. I'm expecting all sorts of cats out there. Panthers, tigers, Yay tigers, all sorts of fun stuff. My plan, like I said, mostly is just to have fun, make some friends, hang out, hopefully make some people laugh and chuckle. But as far as tactically or strategically, my plan is to, ironically enough, ignore the tanks. Ignore the tanks, send my infantry up the middle, as they do. Try and bounce, leapfrog from cover to cover with the infantry, and zoom my vehicles to the rear and harass and try and kill as much of their standoff attack capability as possible. Light mortars, medium mortars, howitzers, stuff like that. And just put my infantry on the objectives and try and hold the objectives as best I can. It's simple. but it might work. And it's to the point where, you know, I'm a very small channel, so I doubt anyone who's playing there tomorrow is watching this. It's also only here in a few hours. They should probably all be at sleep right now, like I should. But it's a simple tactic, nothing too crazy. Even if they know it's gonna happen. See if you looked at Bugman's Glow, a little bit of dry brushing. It's not much. It's not pretty. You know, up close it looks rough, but from far away, it really makes the skin pop against the uniform. And that's it for that guy. So finishing their skin on the last 12 bottles, then I'm gonna go back, hit their canteens and pouches, and then finish off with their leather goods, and then just touch up what I need to touch up, and that should be it. Oh, that is awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. For the Americans, for Conflict 47, they had the Paragon Squad, which is basically the Captain America Super Soldier project. So for my little short talking about that unit, I actually used a lot of clips from Captain America for that. Yeah, Hydra's a good idea. I'm actually doing that myself. Some of my other streams before I had this emergency, you know, war bond recruitment for the Japanese for this event. I was working on a custom Conflict 47 German unit, and yeah, I respect my local friendly gaming club. I wouldn't put anything weird. So instead of like painting them as actual like the Germans with a crooked windmill, I decided to go with the Cult of Imhotep from the Mummy movies. So that's how I'm doing my Germans. Very Hydra themed, you know, doing all the occult research. But these ones are actually like kind of like thuggy Egyptian cultists working for the Germans. So it's kind of neat. Their zombies are actually mummies. Their tank it's a panther, and I put the special gravity cannon on it. So I'm actually gonna spray paint Egyptian hieroglyphics on it. I wanted a German army because everybody likes to play as the Germans, but no one wants to be seen playing as the Germans, if that makes sense. So that's why, you know, I built a German army and I tried to retheme it as best I could. Me personally, I like playing as my Japanese, but I need another army for the demo games. For my first couple demo games, I was just basically breaking my armies in half and running different sets of it, you know, which was made demoing a little bit easier because it was the same rules, same nations. But I kind of wanted to give people the option to see some different stuff. Yeah, I'd love to see pictures of that one day. Your converted Red Skull. That sounds absolutely awesome, man. Yeah, I've heard so many cool ideas. Yeah, that. You can't see it because I don't stream my face. Actually, you can look at my little Tiki face. Like, hold on. I think I got this. Yeah, that's my surprise face. That's my surprise face that you got kicked off Instagram for that. I'm 100% not surprised. So that's what I'm worried about. I've gotten kicked off Reddit groups for posting some of my shorts, because in some of my shorts, you know, particularly when they cover the German army, in the background they're just historical World War II combat footage, including, like, you know, you may see the crooked windmill, and I've actually gotten kicked out of groups for that. No warning, no like, hey, can you take this down for this reason? And I read all the rules first, it wasn't in there, you know? And I wasn't doing it to be like an edgy person or anything. But yeah, because I finally had to reach out through another account and be like, hey, why was this taken down? They're like, oh, there's you know, a crooked windmill in the background. I was like, oh my god, are you serious? And in all my videos, that's why you see, like, if you look at literally any video of mine except for the shorts, because they're only a minute long, all my other videos, it has a very long, like, intro, and the intro covers all, like, hey, not for kids, hey, sensitive topics, hey, you know, trying to cover all my bases, and I still get shit all the time. It's also why my intro to my channel video, it's not my best, not the best mic quality either, but I leave it up because it talks about all this. It talks about how I'll be covering World War II stuff and be using actual footage, you know, including flags and symbols of groups that are no longer around and no longer used in polite conversation. You know, and it's done for entertainment, for the hobby, and for historical reasons. And even then, I don't think it's enough. Yeah, I don't even use Instagram. So I have a Discord account, but I don't really have a Discord for the channel. I probably won't be doing that. But I hang out in other people's Discord channels. I have a Twitter that I use to promote the channel. In my area that I'm at, Bolt Action is really popular on Facebook. Facebook's the best way to find groups, I think mostly because of the age of the players. So I'm active on Facebook, and here. Yeah, I can't believe you got booted for 6 months for that. That's ridiculous. Which is funny, you know, not getting all weird about it, you know, but you'll get booted off Instagram for posting pictures of, you know, a German army, which I'm assuming wearing a German uniform, you know. As long as the context is historical, it's fine, you know. But at the same point in time, how many ads for, like, Hugo Boss, Volkswagen, BMW, or Coco Chanel are there? You know, you're just like, you know, for people who've read history, it's like, I have questions. Like, why is my stuff being taken off? But, you know, I can see literally, I can't post pictures of painting a German army, but I can have a Hugo Boss advertisement. Like, that's the irony of that. It's hysterical. Yeah, Discord's nice. I do a little bit of Reddit. I'm one of those people where you gotta, like, I think you gotta limit your reading of Reddit for your own sanity. But most of the Bolt Action Conflict 47 groups on Reddit are super chill. It only takes one moderator though. It's like that classic joke, who moderates the moderators. But I find on Discord and Reddit, you know, moderators have a lot of power, so I see a lot of these, like, preemptive bans just, like, kind of coming down pretty quick. But not talking bad about moderators. I actually know a few. They're buddies of mine, and they became moderators in a channel we've all been in. Definitely not a thing for me. I'm not moderating anyone. I don't have the time. You know, I do this stream. Surprisingly, I'm pretty consistent with it, which surprised the hell out of me. Because I try and post videos every Wednesday, but even then I'm not super consistent. I work a lot. I work a lot, and I work a lot of overtime. So, speaking of which, actually, last stream was on a Sunday morning. Right after my stream, I got contacted. They're like, hey, can you come in and work an emergency 8 hours? So I pulled a full 8-hour shift, which later became a 12-hour shift right after that. So I work a lot, so that's why I can't really be consistent with YouTube. So I try and be consistent where I can. Again, not perfect, as you can see this. Not pretty, not perfect, but hey, you know, he's got skin that makes him pop. But yeah, I work a lot, so I can't be super consistent with my videos, so I try and post where I can, but I can never be a moderator. I wouldn't have the time to do that, unfortunately, but I understand what they do. I understand the point and purpose of it. I've seen times when they need to step in, especially with World War II. I see bolt action discords or bolt action channels devolve into like arguing about actual World War II, where I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be for like the tabletop game. But I think miniature war gamers are a passionate group. These things aren't cheap, even if you 3D print. If you 3D print, you're saving money, but you're spending time. So models in the form of money and time are not cheap. It's not a cheap hobby. So I find that war gamers are very passionate about it because they spend so much money and so much time. And that's something that I've learned to respect. Even if it's not a tabletop game that I like, I usually don't talk. I try not to talk trash, but I mean, I'll tease some of my buddies about 40K here and there a little bit. But I know it's important to them. I know it's passionate to them, and I know they spend, again, their time and their money, more importantly their time, on these models. So when it comes time for like tabletop, you know, the actual stuff like that, the actual gaming, you know, I know they take it super serious, which is fine. But when you go into that group, it's a very passionate group. So when you see people kind of like jump into the hobby and then they start trying to like say things or do things like, why is everyone reacting so harshly to me? I'm like, it's a passionate group, you know, they feel very strongly. That, you bring up an interesting point. Painting for therapy and sanity, that does make sense. I'm a veteran myself, and a lot of my fellow veterans build models and paint and stuff like that. It helps a lot of people. I think it's a good way of getting out of, when it comes to models like this, I think it's a good way of, how do I phrase this? Getting out of the quicksand. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been stressed out, you make a bad call, and it seems like everything you do after that, you just keep messing up, and you're stuck in that downward spiral? You know, it's different terms, you know, like you could take like an OODA loop and stuff like that, but, you know, without getting near that, I always found that a good thing is just to get a small victory. You know, get something small, a small thing off your to-do list or something like that. So, yeah, a lot of people talk about this, you can be like, you know, do stuff around the house, small chores, what have you. But when it comes to your sanity, when it comes to having fun or relaxing, it can be hard for people to relax. So just getting one model built, or just, you know, opening the paint, or cleaning off your hobby space, or getting a couple guys built, you know, it's what's different for me from a video game, and what I kind of like about models and wargaming is when I finish a level on a video game, or let's say I get a couple matches in, I do pretty well. You know, yeah, a ratio may go up or I may see some numbers. When I turn it off, that's it. When I build these guys, you know, like I can actually see the progress. You know, I walk away and I come over here and I look, I'm like, holy shit, I have, you know, 1,250 points of built Japanese. Like, that's really cool. I own these guys. You know, they don't expire. Once they're painted, you know? So it's kind of like walking by and, oh, it's going to sound so cheesy. Definitely not a trophy, but it's like walking by and seeing the end of your work. You know, every time I walk by my hobby desk, could be like to go get some water out of the kitchen, you know, or something like that. Every time I walk by, I see my progress, and I'm like, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. It's like the epitome of one step at a time. reason I was on the topic is your statement. I'm glad it helps. It's actually a good thing, and I know you say you do this like full time, so it's awesome to hear. But I hear that for a lot of people. It definitely helps me cool down a little bit, you know. Like when it's raining out, I can't go for a ruck or I can't go for a swim or something like that. I want to get out of my head. I just kind of open up some paints to try and at least knock out a unit or something. But I think one of the other things, people who get into this hobby, it doesn't matter which game it is, anything from 40k to Infinity to some of the new Fallout stuff, Bolt Action, Conflict 47, whatever game you play, what I think a lot of people don't understand is even inside the community, there's different sub-communities. And what I mean by that is like when you jump into miniature wargaming, you know, or tabletop wargaming, whichever you want to call it. I like to call it tabletop wargaming. When you jump into it, there's different groups. Like I like to think I belong to something called like a more narrative group, you know, where I really cut my teeth doing a lot of D&D. So when I'm playing the tabletop, I like big narrative battles, you know. I think that stuff's always fun. I'm not like a not one of those people who can like look at it and like go full Neo and see the matrix and calculate the numbers. I hear it in videos all the time, and I'm always impressed. People are like, oh, you know, that roll was sub-average. I'm like, what do you mean the dice roll? Like the random dice roll? It's like, well, yeah, that many dice rolling, it should be an average of this many 4s. I'm like, oh my god. Like easy, Raid Man. Like we're just we're just fighting over a fictitious French village. Like it's cool. But I don't definitely not shaming people like that. I mean, that's how they find their enjoyment. And as long as they're fun to play with, you know, as long as they don't force other people to be like that, I think it's totally cool. It's always kind of led me to the phrase, you know, because you've seen it in D&D and you've seen some of the drama in Warhammer 40k. People kind of come into the hobby and try and change things. You know, I'm not a big drama guy, but I've always thought, just my opinion, you know, it's not any more valid than anybody else's, it's just mine, is I think tabletop wargaming, it's a hobby anyone can get into, but tabletop wargaming isn't a hobby for everyone, if that makes sense. You know, no real bar to entry, you know, just be polite like any other hobby. You know, be polite, be courteous, walk in, learn. You know, but at the end of the day, it may or may not be for you, and that's okay too. You know, maybe there's a different hobby for you, or maybe you want to make your own. That's okay too. I always tell people, like, try any type of tabletop wargame that interests you, either aesthetically or game mechanic or lore-wise. But I always recommend them. You know, be courteous to the population that's already there, and don't try. You can change your own headcanon, your own head lore, but try not to mess with anyone's canon, because it's been people's jobs, you know, to come up with this stuff, and they're very passionate about it. It's been around for years. When you start changing it, it can really affect certain people. And if you don't like it, it's totally understandable. And I don't mean this in a bad way. You don't have to stick around. And what I mean by that is, I'll give an example, and I'll talk about it generally, and I'll give an example I just recently had. You know, coming from the D&D side, you always have a saying, you know, if you go back and watch a lot of, you go to like Reddit and be like D&D horror stories, you know. No D&D is better than bad D&D. I think the same thing goes for tabletop wargaming. You know, if you're not having fun, then I think it's better not to play. Because you still have the models you built, you still have the models you painted. You know, so if you're not having fun playing the actual war game, that's okay too. No one says you have to. Great example, Shells of Iron, you know, a channel, really good painter out there. I link his channels on my videos. He doesn't play Warhammer 40k, but holy hell can he paint the models. His models look absolutely amazing. And he has a lot of fun. He knows a lot about the lore. You know, I drop a lot of funny jokes about Gene Stealer Cult, and he goes with it, you know. He humors me, which I appreciate. But he doesn't play the war game, and I think that's awesome. Not everyone has to. There's different groups of tabletop wargaming. There's people who are super competitive. There's people who are super narrative. There are people who are just more hobby focused. They're just here to build the models, you know, and all that other kind of stuff. That's what they want to do, and that's understandable too. I think there's room for a lot of people in tabletop wargaming, as long as they're respectful for the people who are already there, you know? Again, I think anyone can Anyone can play, but it's not for everyone. And that's okay too. If it's not for you, just know that, you know? Be like, hey, I'm not having fun. Just move on so you find something you're having fun at. I'll be so excited to be done with these guys. I love playing the Japanese armies. I love building them. I love the history behind, the military history behind it. I had to catch myself there. But, oh, hey, thanks for the subscribe, man. I appreciate that. Well, that actually means a lot. Thank you. But I will be happy to move on to different models. Oh my god, I've built and painted a lot of these guys in just 1 week. So when I put it on a rush order, it was took a lot out of me. Thanks for the subscribe, man. I appreciate it. I want to get back to my my Countess German Kultists. They're actually a lot of fun. I had to kit bash them out of a lot of different bits and parts. They're made out of like Wargame Atlantic Afghan warrior bits with some French World War I weapons and equipment. All different types of swords and stuff. Is pretty neat. Alright, well, hey man, I hope you get some sleep. I hope you relax. Thanks for checking in the channel. I appreciate it. It was nice to have someone to chat to. And thanks for your subscription. Honestly, that means a lot. I stream Saturdays and Sundays, 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. If you're ever up late, man, I'm always here. Take care and have fun painting, brother. All right, that is another color down. I said, luckily these guys are, spells are already technically tabletop ready. I mean, they are based, not the best base. They do have 3 colors. You know, so they're good, but taking this extra time just kind of neaten them up, make them a little bit better. Get as much from the paint as I possibly can. And then throw some tufts of grass on some of these bases. Then we're going to move on to what would actually be their canvas or issued gear. So it'd be like some of their like satchels and packs and gear like that. Most their actual like what you would call web gear or like battle gear like that. Yeah, I think web gear is probably the best term. Theirs is leather, so it's a leather cross belt. It has 2 ammo pouches in the front. You know, at the 1 o'clock and the 11 o'clock, and then they generally carry an extra ammo pack at the 6 o'clock. You know, before I do that, let me get their canteens, because some of them have like wooden canteens, and some are packed in metal canteens. Let me do the metal canteens first, because it's covered in that that canvas cloth material, so it'd be easier just gonna hit the canteens first. So I think when you really go into details like this, trying to get all the different colors, all the different gear, just get the gear painted. I think that's ultimately what makes the model kind of pop on the tabletop a little bit. Just having just this little, you know, even just that small kind of gray just kind of makes it pop just a little bit. It'll go big, it's a green bag. So once you get all this stuff kind of going, I ultimately think that it really kind of helps, makes the model stick out a little bit. Go back and do his wooden stopper. batch painting can be a little rough. Most people recommend you do it in like groups of 5, but like I said, this is my last 15-man group. Like I said, they're legally done. They got the 3 colors. I'm just trying to like get everything. So we're like, oh, you're just painting like, the silver part on a canteen. That's not that bad. It's true, it's not. It's 15 guys. You're just like, oh god, another one, another one. It's like DJ Khaled, another one. Yeah, it's not much, but in the grand scheme of things, and there's like 66 of these guys storming up a table. Hopefully it pops just a little bit, That's what we're going for. See, that's one of the reasons. That's what really drives me to paint. Is, again, I've never been to a tournament. 10 years doing this, never been to a tournament, right? Of multiple tabletop wargaming, not Bolts Action. But especially about Conflict 47 and Bolt Action, is the tabletops are very heavy with terrain. So if I go into a tournament, and someone spent all this time to set up these tables, I want to respect them by having some painted minis. I want my minis to complement the hard work that someone's already put on that tabletop. I don't want them to steal the show. They're definitely not going to. No harm of that happening. But I want them to basically help the tabletop kind of stand out a little bit, help add to it, not subtract. Because we've all seen pictures, right? We're reading bad reps. Doesn't matter if you're on Daka, Facebook, Reddit, Discord. Doesn't matter. We've all seen pictures of bat reps, right? And they could be the best description, the best camera, all this kind of stuff. Good terrain, one army's painted, the other one's all just tan or gray or green, and you're like, or worst of all, unpainted gray, and you're just like, it gets you, it could definitely ruin someone's picture too. It could ruin someone's memory too. It can yank them out of the immersion. So I don't think it matters how well your minis are painted, and that's a very easy thing for me to say because I paint the shit. But I think it's just pride in having your miniatures painted. If that makes sense. Hey, what's going on, Knife? How you been, buddy? Just talking about paint miniatures here. I think it's important, not so much your skill as it is your pride. If you feel strongly about your faction, if it's a faction you like, I think it's important to paint them. Even if it's not very good, just showing up with a fully painted faction, I think speaks volumes. No one's going to accuse you of being a whack-a player if you have a hand-painted army. You didn't pay someone to paint your whole army. I understand getting like a hero unit commissioned makes a lot of sense, totally, or like a tank or something. But if you've personally painted the majority of your army, I think that speaks highly of you and speaks highly of the pride you have and the miniatures that you've collected. And again, it doesn't matter how good they're painted. as long as they're painted, I think it looks great. How you doing, Meryl? How you doing tonight? Hopefully all is well. Yeah, like I said, you could tell my models are like nothing too crazy. I mean, they have some funny little stuff, like you see a little poof from the mortar and like little grass, stuff like that. And every now and then I have fun, I'll make a model like this, you know, like Tommy Two Guns over here at NCO with 2 Nambu pistols. Like it could be fun, but at least they're painted, you know. And what I was just mentioning is, I feel like when they're not painted, you could take away from someone else's experience. Like they could be having fun. And if they like take a picture for later and they show their buddies, like, oh man, hey, look at this awesome game I'm doing. You know, it's called Bolt Action. It's called, you know, Warhammer 40K. And they're like, how come one army's painted and one's just like gray? Especially when there's terrain. Like I said, that's the key to me. Now, if you're just doing like Kitchen Hammer, you know, if you're just hanging out with your buddies, and it's gonna show my age here. When I was first teaching myself Warhammer 40K, I was using an old beer pong table. I just moved from, you know, like junior enlisted to NCO. So yeah, I did have a beer pong table. So I was using a beer pong table, and I made terrain out of cardboard, you know, and I was moving those models around. So when you're doing like Kitchen Hammer, that's fine. Your models can be painted, unpainted, it doesn't matter. You know, you just have it. When you're using soda cans and like empty boxes for terrain, you're perfectly fine. But I think when you move to a tabletop that has real terrain, you know, especially for bolt action, because I think it's one of the things that sets bolt action apart is the terrain. I think it's good to have painted armies. Ooh, some Africa core. I always love the aesthetic of the Africa core. Super cool uniform aesthetic. It's actually something I think is difficult for bolt action, and you may be able to weigh in here, buddy. When you get the Gentleman's Box, I always think the Gentleman's War Box is one of the best. I think most people do. It's one of the better starter boxes. And I played Japan, you know, so I'm biased as shit, and I still think that's a better box. But when you're painting them up, I mean, it's the desert, right? So the camouflage to wear is tan, makes sense. How do you paint the 8th Army, the British forces, different from your mix of Africa Corps or Italians? Like, when everyone's wearing the same desert color, like, what really sets your models apart? So with your painting scheme that you have... Oh, Mad Larkin, what's up, brother? Yeah, I appreciate the motivation. I'm doing what you need to be doing. Buddy, I need to be sleeping. I have my first tournament ever in like 10 years in a couple hours. So I should be sleeping, but I'm over here just hanging out, painting, doing some last minute touches on some models. But yeah, I'm interested to hear in how you're painting your Africa Corps. I want to know like how you're making them look different from the 8th Army. If you're putting any like personal touches or anything on them. Yeah, this is why I'll probably never be a competitive player. Like I should be looking up, you know, what list could I run into? What's the best way to do this instead of over here painting canteens? How's your Val going, Mal? Mad Larkin, by you saying that you need to be painting, I'm assuming you're still working on one of your Vals. But I do have one of the most important pieces of kit for this meetup. I do have my green bayonet shirt from Morning Glory that I'll be wearing at the event, so that'll be kind of fun. Oh, I'm just there to hang out with people. I'm not worried about any of the rings or stuff like that. I'm just excited to meet, because it's gonna be three matches, so I'm just excited to meet 3 new people at the very minimum. Hopefully make each one of them laugh and have a good time, and help them on their way to their competitive, the next event or tournament. Like I said, I was just a last minute invite to kind of round out the numbers, which is perfect for me. Just a super friendly wild card that came out of nowhere. So, just excited to meet some people, talk up and hear what people are thinking about for 3rd edition face to face. That'll be nice. Oh, Feudal Guard. Oh, that's so good. Those new jump scions. I always love that style of scion because I feel like it's got a really good, like it really understood the assignment for like gothic sci-fi. So I feel like it already had a pretty good feudal look. Oh man, I really want to see. I mean, Lord Solar, it's cool. But I can kind of imagine what he'll look like for Feudal Guard. But I really want to see your Feudal Guard take on Strachan. I am actually thoroughly excited for that. That sounds phenomenal. Putting some orange in there. Okay, that does sound pretty cool. Oh yeah, your Dutcher guys are gonna look awesome. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot then. You're using the regular models. No, that's totally cool. I thought you were doing like a custom, like feudal themed Strachan. I'm sorry. I'm still excited to see it. I didn't mean to downplay that at all. Yeah, that's one thing I always thought was interesting. So as soon as the old world became popular, and I know, Larkin, that you're a fan of the Bretonians. So I figure with all the Bretonian knight models out there, you probably start seeing a lot of them kind of come over into Warhammer 40k as Lord Solars, as like kit bashes and stuff like that. I'm sure you'll probably start to see some of those pop around tournaments and stuff. Well, I want to say hopefully they'll do, and correct me because I don't know the rules, hopefully they'll keep some as Casterkin Stormtroopers, and they'll put some as, Tempestus Scions, and keep those rules separate, but that doesn't sound very current GW-ish. Not in a bad way, just based off observations. Like I said, I don't have a dog in that hunt, it's, I no longer play. I plan on playing some Kill Team, but, if I had to put money on it, were I a betting man, I would say you won't see rule changes in Warhammer 40k. It'll just be a kill team, and you'll keep your scions as they are for 40k until the Imperial Guard Codex comes out. That would be my actual real-world estimate or bet. But again, I absolutely have no idea what the hell I'm talking about. Just like the Vulture incident, you know, I had no idea what I was talking about. That happens often. So, take it with a top shelf margarita grain of salt here, a rim of salt. Oof. Scion's losing Deep Strike. That sounds rough. As long as I've played them, they've always had that. So you know, but that's kind of tough to hear. I hope not. But maybe it'll come with new rules for Valkyries. That'd be kind of neat. You know, because they already have the Valkyrie model, so hopefully that'll help them sell more Valkyrie models. You know, by giving like special drop troop Scion version. You know, like maybe their grav shoots are a little bit better, or exactly, they're not just grav shoots, they can actually control them, you know? So hey, you know, there's a little bit positive light. Maybe we'll have some new Valk rules come out. That could happen. The likeliness of it, ooh, I don't know. But it could happen. Yeah, Larkin, these guys, all my models are legally painted and they're ready for tomorrow, or today. But I'm just trying to, for pride, that's what I was talking about earlier. Pride, I'm just trying to get everything actually painted. You know? Legally, they're based, legally they have 3 colors, and there are a shit ton of them. So people probably wouldn't even notice, but I'll notice. I mean, they still look like ass. I'm like speed painting with speed paints, but I at least want them like painted. I can go back and fix them, but my biggest thing is if I put equipment on them, and I put realistic, I think I was talking about this the other day, I put realistic equipment on them, you know, I want that equipment painted. Like, a leather scabbard should be leather, you know, like, a canvas bag should be canvas colored. I think the last color before I just go back and touch up all my mistakes, I'll do for these guys with leather, because a lot of their gear for these Imperial Japanese are leather. Leather boots, leather scabbards. Their web gear is actually like almost like a Sam Brown. It's kind of like a leather straps over both shoulders, and then they have a rifle ammo pouch at the 1 o'clock and at the 11 o'clock. They generally have one at the 6 o'clock as well. I think it was talked about during the stream, morning stream. But I think he has it right. What I think is what you'll gain with the more mobile or the deep striking ones, you know, the further you travel, they won't have special weapons. They'll just be armed with hot shots. And then I think, you know, they'll probably maintain maybe the Casterkins and give them, you know, a special loadout where they can have all their plasmas and meltas and what have you. Which is weird. Weird you mentioned that, Mad Larkin, because again, I'm probably biased. You know, I was in the Air Force for a long time. I say a long time. To me, it seems like a long time. But even growing up as a kid, like, who doesn't like an air show, right? Just saying that, I feel like I sound like Commander Conquer Generals. Like, let's give them an air show. You know, King Raptor online. But who doesn't like air shows, right? So to me, that's what I always. And again, everyone's different. I understand that. But that's what pulled me into Game Workshop stores, stuff like that. You know, I'd walk by, I see a big old flyer. Could be a Hell Chicken, you know, like a Hell Drake. Could be a Valkyrie. Could be a Corvus Blackstar. Back in the day, Space Marines had like 50 different flyers, especially the Dark Angels. Dark Angels had almost their whole damn armada. I think flyers look great on the tabletop, and I'm just surprised they're not being embraced more. That, and they can sell them for a king's ransom. My lowly assumption, and again, I cannot stress this, I don't know what I'm talking about. My assumption with the decline of flyers is I think they are extremely hard to balance. I think tabletop wargaming and creating tabletop wargames is very difficult, and I appreciate those who do come up with rules for it. I think they have a tough job. But I think when you start changing it into a battle space, it starts getting complex. A good example was, imagine Warhammer 40k, now imagine subterranean units. Imagine Genestealer Cult getting to actually make like burrows or spider holes or tunnels like the VC. Imagine Krieg actually getting all their like drills and stuff like that, and being able to like move under the ground. Imagine how difficult that would be for the rules. So I imagine the same thing with making rules for flyers. In order to make them feel and act like flyers, I feel like it'd be a great difficulty balancing with what's currently going on in the tabletop. They already have gods and heroes and all sorts of other weird stuff going on. So I think flying is just, you know what? Hilarious pun. I think adding flyers, like a lot of flyers and a lot of flying rules, is just a bridge too far for them right now. A lot of people say, and again, I don't know, Larkin, you probably have the best opinion about this. A lot of people say 10th edition Warhammer 40k is, it has a focus. It definitely has an eye on the competitive scene. So I think when it comes to competitive, you know, they try and make things either as balanced as possible, or the way they keep putting out new rules and new update sheets. It seems like they're really trying hard to try and balance this. I think really making flyers powerful, like if you put in a flyer, it's going to be powerful, you know? So I think if you put in flyers like they were in 7th, it's going to throw... It's like that classic Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme, where he puts something on the table and he grabs the plate and throws it down the hallway. It's exactly what flyers would do to your balanced rules. They're awesome, and I love them. But I think it's hard to have a very balanced war game and have flyers. A great example is, you know, look at bolt action. There are technically rules for flyers, not just, you know, air observers, but you can technically have planes, I think. Outside of big narrative battles, it's just not balanced at all. But oh yeah, I said I will always. I am happy I played Warhammer 40k when I did. 7th edition was rough, visible Death Stars and shit like that, but I swear to all that is holy, bringing an honest to God wing, a legitimate VTOL wing to like Apocalypse games, you know, like having a flying formation, like a flying V of Valkyries and Vendettas was just such a cool feeling. I absolutely loved how Flyers worked in 7th. Which is weird. It's weird that they want dense city fights, but they don't want flyers or, like I said, subterranean units, because that's what the first thing you learn about the acronym we use, or I used to use in the business that I'm no longer in. MOUT, Military Operations in Urban Terrain, MOUT. I know, there's no N. It's just one of those things. MOUT. A lot of people think it's just, you know, house-to-house fighting. And then when you bring in the aerial part, like, oh yeah, helicopters landing on roofs and drones, a lot of people always forget about the subterranean factor of MOUT or urban fighting. I'll say urban because it's easier. With urban fighting, a lot of people forget, in most developed countries, sewers are a thing. So, you know, if you're not watching the sewers in a city fight, you're in for a nasty, probably GSC flavored surprise. You know? So it's weird that they're focusing on city fighting, but they're taking out, you know, two aspects of city fighting. Oh shit, I'm gonna paint his face. I would love to hear your opinion on it, Larkin, but I feel like this may be a conversation for our podcast, but I feel like Warhammer 40k could, I mean, I know they only have so much resource, and again, it's not my dog, so I probably shouldn't say anything about it, but I feel like they could benefit from, like, having, you know, rules for competitive scene, you know, and then rules for a narrative base, and props to them. I know they already did that, you know, they already did that with the Crusades, and it wasn't very popular, so in their defense, they tried, it's just no one took the bait, so I guess it's on the community. But yeah, I think like no flyers, you know, low indirect power level. I think that'd be good for the competitive scene. You know, then for the other scenes, you could just have like, oh yeah, here are all your legend units. Hey, we, you know, every year maybe. Oh, this would be great. Tell me how much money this would make Games Workshop. Every year they just put out, like, they could just call it the Index, you know, just call it the Index from Halo, right? So every year they put out a big ass thick hard copy with a whole bunch of art in it, and more importantly, it has updated rules for all the models that have been legend. That would be cool. So it'd be like a yearly touch up for all their legend models for that edition anyways. You can't tell me that wouldn't sell. So that way, at least your legend models are not completely obsolete. They get touched up at least once a year. Not too bad if your edition lasts for like 2 or 3 years, you know? There was a huge boost to flyers. Between 7th and 8th, and I'll never forget it, it was huge for me, was when they got the ability to split fire. Because I remember back in the day, you had to take your Valks as anti-horde or anti-infantry. You'd take the multiple rocket pods. You wouldn't take the last cannons, you'd stick to the multi-lasers. The only time in the whole time I played 40k, the only time I ever used multi-lasers. And you had door gunners. And then for your vendettas, you just stuck with the last cannons. You didn't take door gunners or anything like that, because it was a waste of points, because you couldn't split fire. So I think now with split fire, it's a huge... I think it did a lot for flyers. Okay, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I thought it was weapon profile. I thought each weapon profile could aim something different, but oh man, each gun? That is crazy. Well, hey, you know, at least it gives your door gunner something to do. I used to use a toothpick and white paint and like mark little tally marks on my door every time my actual door gunners actually killed somebody. Albeit there weren't very many tick marks. At my shop, there were some Grey Knights, some Chaos guys, but they always kind of stuck to themselves. They didn't really play anybody. I played a lot of Guard and a lot of Orc players. It's like all my experience is either fighting Guard or Orcs or getting stomped by Grey Knights and Space Wolves. I think I played Chaos once. Actually, the win of that match. But I played a lot of Orcs. A lot of Orcs. Just kept shooting. Oh, speaking of knights, yeah, one guy always had Imperial Knights. That was fun. I definitely do miss 40k every now and then. I think I miss the Apocalypse games and narrative battles. I think that's what I miss. If I had to build an army to get back in, I had no idea what I'd do. I have a small 10-man chaos kill team, but I don't know who I'd build. Everyone tells me the way I play, especially with Japanese, and I like Japanese, and I love kit bashing. Everyone's like, clearly you're an orc player, and I'm like, never played orcs. So that may have to be my next kill team. I may have to actually get some orcs and try out orcs. Obviously I'm a sarcastic person. You know, I like making a lot of jokes and memes and shit like that. So, I don't know, maybe I am an orc player at heart. And I love kit bashing, so... I don't know. It's kind of torn between, like, Imperial Japanese themed Gene Stealer cult. They're probably one of my favorite in the lore. Or some orcs. I may grab that little orc kill team, you know, the commando units. I'll definitely need a palette cleanse. After building these guys, oh sweet Jesus, do I need a palette cleanse. I love bolt action, I love Conflict 47. But one more Type 38 rifle and I swear to all that is holy. You know, I'm at that point. I'm literally painting the day of competition. You're like, one more fucking rifle. I say that, but if someone invites me, like, hey, there's another event next week, I'll be like, ah, damn it. Alright, let me paint up some more dudes. I really want to paint my, speaking of acronyms with hidden letters, I really want to paint my, my SNLFs, Special Naval Landing Force, SNLF, Imperial Japanese Navy. I really want to build my SNLFs, but, I'm actually waiting for 3rd edition to build them. Because they're going to be very, very kit bash heavy. Very labor intensive to build, so before I build a unit that I can't use, I'm going to wait to see what the new rules look like. I plan for them to use, if it's available, lots of SMGs, lots of flamethrowers, lots of knee mortars. That's my smoke and choke force. And I'll be basing them off a design that's from one of the only things I like from Battlefield 5. I had a really cool design for that unit with like the blue uniforms and shit. So I think that's what I'll be doing. We'll have like gray helmets, blue pants. They'll either be shirtless or have like gray shirts, or if I can, I gotta figure out how I can model some life jackets because they had a very unique type of life jacket and blue soft caps. So that'll be pretty cool. Yeah, I know you are sitting on, like, the Emperor himself is jealous of your massive armory of Japanese models, man. They look amazing in the box. Like, you have such a great collection. Yeah, no rush to it, man. That is the one thing I will say. So I'm a little worried about 3rd edition because no one's talked about Japan and what it's going to do to Japan. So that I'm worried about. But the one thing I'm glad about is we're all going to start off together. Knee mortars on long bases. So I'm assuming you're talking about this homeboy, this home slice, this guy. So yeah, this is one of my knee mortars. I did put him on a long base. So you can see my dog's hair on that thing. So I did put him on a long base. Bases don't really matter that much in bolt action. I don't really see anyone get that upset about it. I do it just because, you know, if I was a mortarman, I wouldn't want to be standing out. And to be a whole nerd, the whole like knee mortar is just it's a misnomer, kind of like RPG. I don't speak Russian, you know, but you know, RPG isn't rocket repelled grenade. Any rocket that explodes, you know, is a rocket. So rocket repelled grenade doesn't really make sense. But RPG 7s were shoulder fired, and they were used tactically like grenadiers. So instead of having an underslung, you know, low velocity grenade, you know, like a 40 mic, you know, they would just use shoulder fired, you know, rockets. So, you know, RPG 7, RPG rocket propelled grenade, the name stuck. The original RPGs 1 and 2 were like hand thrown anti-tank weapons. So back to it, a knee mortar, you don't want to put it on your knee, or you don't want to put it on your shin. It'll actually crack it. It's a grenade discharger. And they're super cool because they use their own proprietary shaped mortar rounds, or you could take the standard issued Imperial Japanese hand grenade, screw on this little add-on on the bottom, which gave it enough powder, you know, to launch at longer distances, and just pull the pin, smack it to prime it, and drop it down the tube. So they could shoot mortars, or they could shoot their own hand grenades with it. It's actually really cool. But you don't have to put them on long bases. The other thing I like doing is if you take them in the Grenadier squads, you can fit, at least for 2nd edition, you can put up to 3 knee mortars in a rifle squad. Granted, they're $20 a pop. It's a better value than the 20-point light machine gun, but they're still 20 a pop. So what are you getting with 3 mortars like that? Well, they all zero independently. Anyone that tells you otherwise, I think, is incorrect. So each light mortar, if you put 3 light mortars in a rifle squad, they will zero independently. But they're great if you want to drop smoke. So if you're trying to do like the tactic I'm trying to build, like the old smoke and choke, you know, if you drop 1 smoke round with a medium mortar, if you miss, you know, it's just like any other mortar, it hits on a 6. If you miss, the enemy has the ability to move your smoke up to 12 inches. And then each new turn, you roll a dice to see if your smoke stays there or if it blows away. So, you know, just launching 1 smoke may not get you what you need, but if you have 3 light mortars in an infantry squad, then that's 3 separate smoke rounds. Your chance of rolling at 6 are a lot higher, but even if you miss, yeah, the enemy can move your smoke 12 inches, but if you're still dropping down 3 things of smoke, you're building a smoke screen. He can move it however he wants. You're still likely going to get smoke where you want it. And you can just keep smoking the board and keep moving up with impunity while their shots are at -1. So usually it's hard for me to advocate people to use smoke rounds unless you're running Japanese Grenadiers. Then it makes sense to kind of drop these, because you're not just dropping smoke, you're dropping legit smoke screens. It's kind of cool. But yeah, you can talk to me about loadouts. Remember, I play a couple friendly games here and there. Today will be different. Today I'll have some information for you, buddy. Ain't that the truth? After today I can talk to you. But a lot of this is all theory hammering or just some stuff I've seen in friendly games. I think that's going to be the benefit to Japan. It was in second edition. Hopefully, it will be in third edition. Is for Japan, we don't have a lot of high tech units. I'm talking about bolt action, not Conflict 47. But for bolt action, we don't have a lot of high tech units, so we do have just interesting builds because a lot of our tactics and weapons historically for the Imperial Japanese, a lot of it was developed in isolation. So they do have a lot of unique units. Maybe not powerful, but unique units. And sometimes having a unique unit and a unique combination that people aren't used to can be advantageous all its own. So, yeah, hold on to those medium machine guns. In second edition, I can't really advise them. But in third edition, here machine guns are going to get a little bit better, so that could actually be pretty cool. Yeah, right? A walking smokescreen. So, yeah, everyone's like, what are you going to use those grenadiers for? I was like, dropping HU would be cool. Sure, why not? But I care a lot more about dropping a smokescreen that I can move me and my SMG guys and my flamers up through. Kind of forcing you into close combat. But oh yeah, sorry, I was looking at I was like, what was I going on about? Those medium machine guns you have, those can be pretty good in third edition because I know the rules are changing. Medium mortars, I hear they're great. I've never ran a medium mortar, so I cannot say strongly one way or the other. Mathematically, I see why second edition why they're so good. I see why everyone takes them almost like an auto include. For this force, I mean, you're looking at it. I mean, there's obviously more infantry, but here's my Type 92 tankette. See the heavy machine gun on the hull. You see the medium machine gun in the turret. You see my pickup truck, or my light truck with a medium machine gun on the top. And then you see my Chiha. Yeah, I got mud on the tracks and stuff. So it's all infantry except for those three vehicles. And like I said, you probably can't see them, but I do have my little, I do have my lunge mine guys. I went ahead and gave them grass in the helmets too. I know I did do bamboo poles. I know it's kind of silly. You know, me of all people should totally have bamboo poles. But I went with just plain wood. Yeah, I am running all three of these guys. As the offshore looks a little bit different, but yeah, other than those three vehicles, and thanks for the comment about the camo, I appreciate that. Other than those three vehicles, I have an all infantry force, and what's going to make this unique today is all gas, no brakes. We'll see if it works out. I've never heard anyone, you know, Bordian's talked about, you know, ABC always be charging, but I don't think even he meant like this wild of a full mobile force. It's exactly what it is. It is the definition of light infantry, you know, just high mobility, good survivability, because all my guys are veterans, with the exception of my officer and my senior NCO. The SMGs, but they'll be riding in the truck. Other than them, they're all veterans, so it's high survivability for these guys. What's funny is I didn't even pay attention to it. You know, I kind of built a list of what I had, but then when I looked at it, it actually kind of broke down pretty well. You know, I have an H&S section, you know, of a you know, platoon leader and a platoon sergeant. You know, and they have a truck that they'll ride in, you know, the supply, you know, headquarters and supply. For fire support, I have a medium tank, which is a light tank, honestly. So I have a light tank and a light mortar. You know, for recon, for S2, I have my little tankette. And then after that, I just have 4 rifleman squads. So even if you look at it in like conventional military science sense, it is just a standard reinforced platoon. You know, exactly what the name says on the tin. And they're like, hey, only reinforced rifle platoons. I'm like, that's exactly what this is. It is a legitimate rifle platoon, you know, augmented with You know, basically a Cav Scout, like an armored recon vehicle. You know, an actual armored fire support, one tank, a light mortar team, which would probably be organic support, and leadership in a truck with a medium machine gun. So other than the Type 92 and the Type 97, you know, it'd all be organic to the actual unit. It's just funny how that worked out, you know, without even thinking about it. I just kind of went back to my roots and just built a conventional, conventional military unit. Speaking of going back to my roots, I think that would be a lot of fun. Obviously, at the time, it was the Army. It was the Army Air Force, or the Army Air Corps. So I'd have to. I don't know if they had their own. I think they still use Army MPs instead of Air Police at the time. You know, but I'll probably just do as Conflict 47, so I can just do whatever I want. But I definitely need to make like a Air Police or military police themed army. That should be a lot of fun. Yeah, if they come out with like motorcycle units that are a little bit more common in 3rd edition, I think I definitely will build like a full MP platoon. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Historically, they did see some action in World War II. Towards the later stages, Germany sent a lot of saboteurs behind enemy lines who could speak English and stuff like that and pass for American soldiers with stolen uniforms. And they tried to cause havoc with our supply lines, because our logistics is what was destroying them. And so the MPs had to do a lot. Not only did they keep the roads open for people like crashing trucks and driving like bats out of hell, more importantly, they also prevent, you know, attacks from behind the lines from saboteurs. You know, everybody sees like Inglourious Basterds, which is a great movie, or Dirty Dozen, which I think is a better movie, but they're both good in their own right. And I'd say that wasn't just unique to the Americans and, you know, the OSS and the SOE and stuff like that. The British, you know, Germans did that shit a whole hell of a lot, particularly to Americans. It was a huge, I mean, just not being weird about it, just calling it for what it is. You know, World War II, you know, particularly in Europe, between British, American, and German, with the exception of a few language differences, I mean, you could pass for each other pretty well. You know, it's pretty easy to steal a uniform behind enemy lines, at least from a distance. So that really allowed, I think that's why you saw a huge rise in special operations. When you start doing special operations in different countries or different cultures where the majority of your population can't physically pass for one. You know, another good example would be like taking a standard, you know, Wisconsin Caucasian male and trying to pass him off in Nepal as Nepalese. Like it's not gonna work. You know, you need like locals. You need someone who speaks the language or looks similar. So as far as the special operations asset, it's kind of interesting. Like, it was no holds barred in Europe. A lot of people stealing the uniforms and doing unmarked operations. Yeah, if you're ever looking for something to read, if you haven't already read it, a lot of people already know the story, so it's nothing new. But for the off chance that you haven't, definitely check out Christopher Lee's story. The guy, you know, on top of all the awesome music he made and all the awesome characters he played, you know, but even as Saruman, which most people know him for, I mean, he and Ian Fleming, the guy who wrote James Bond and also wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, they definitely did some legit shit during the war. They were running around doing spy things with their spy friends for sure. That's one of the unique things about Bolt Action and Conflict 47 is you really don't have to go far to come up with fun narrative-based missions for like smaller games, like smaller like 500-point battles and stuff like that. There is enough, you know, very interesting small-scale, you know, precursor to special operation engagements in World War II to last you. Like, you, maybe I should. Someone could like literally write a campaign book out of that. Alright, we're coming up on the end of the stream. I don't want to stream too long. I'll probably get a little bit of rest before I show up to my first ever tournament, my whole tabletop wargaming career, 10 years at least. Not counting all the time it's in Battlefield Gothic, because that's just a different world. But, yeah, first ever campaign. I mean, tournament. I don't know why I said campaign. I got campaign on the brain. But, yeah, I'll probably get a little bit of sleep, you know? Show up early, help set up. Shake hands, kiss some babies, or shake some babies, kiss hands. We'll see what happens. It's a weird world. But other than that, man, for y'all who joined me for the stream, I appreciate it. Starting to notice, you know, a couple loyal watchers and followers. You don't go miss. I promise you. I really appreciate you guys showing up. It really does mean the world to me. I'm glad you guys show up and put up with my voice. But I will be streaming again tomorrow, same time, 2 to 4, and I'll actually have some updates on how the tournament went. So with that being said, yeah, I really am nervous excited. Well, because I'm not a competitive guy, you know, so it's like, I love the rules, I love the game, but I'm stepping into someone else's world, you know, so it's always kind of weird. It's like going to your first Renaissance festival, you know, you're just going to a whole new world. But with that being said, for those of you who are going to bed, I hope you sleep well. For those of you who are just starting your day and going to work, man, I hope you have a great day. And you know, everything goes well for you, and hope you guys stay safe and stay hydrated. More importantly, don't forget to relax today, because I know I'll try to, because you're on Tiki time.
Drums just peach from miles. Ghost park by Tiki lights, shadow dance in tropic nights, sand beneath where boots once stood, paradise ain't so misunderstood. Lost in waves and hula tunes, Tiki dreams. drinks and months of moons. Forgot the fight in distant lands. Just surf and play with tired hands. Bunkers built from palm and hope, coconuts and crude soap. Imperial dreams fade in sun. Warriors turn beach bums. Shrine to ocean gods we raise, praying for forgotten days. Sake in the campfire glow, life's a surfboard, ebb and flow. Lost in waves and hula twos, tiki drinks and months of moons. Forgot the fight in distant lands, just surf and play with tired hands. Lost in waves and hula tunes, tiki drinks and months of moons. Forgot the fight in distant lands, just surf and play with tired hands.